Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Harmony Dawn, watching the stars pass by through the large windows. The ship was peaceful and quiet, just like every other day of their journey. Behind him, Navigator Lisa Baker worked at her station, checking their course to New Haven Colony. Chief Engineer Tony Rodriguez was down in the engine room, making sure everything ran smoothly. The Harmony Dawn was not a warship. It was a simple transport vessel that carried families and their belongings to new worlds. Today, it carried 847 people who wanted to start fresh lives on New Haven, a farming world 3 weeks away from Earth. Children played in the recreation areas while their parents talked about their hopes and dreams for their new home. Jake had been flying ships like this for 15 years. He loved seeing families begin new chapters of their lives. The ship carried teachers, doctors, farmers, and engineers. All of them were civilians who had never hurt anyone. They just wanted to build a better life among the stars. "Captain," Lisa called from her station, "I'm picking up some strange readings." Ahead, Jake walked over to look at her screen. "What kind of readings?" "Multiple ships. Big ones. They're not showing up on our civilian identification system." Jake frowned. They were in neutral space, far from any known military zones. "Can you tell what kind of ships they are?" Lisa worked at her controls for a moment. "They look like military vessels, but I don't recognize the design. They're not human ships." A chill ran down Jake's spine. First contact with alien species was supposed to happen through proper diplomatic channels, not in the middle of empty space. Red alert. "Get Tony up here. Send a message to Earth Command immediately." The ship's alarm began to sound. Passengers looked up from their activities, confused and worried. Parents pulled their children closer. Jake had hoped he would never have to use the emergency systems on a civilian transport. Tony arrived on the bridge, his face serious. "What's happening, Captain?" "Unknown alien vessels ahead. We need to be ready for anything." The alien ships came into view on the main screen. They were dark and angular, covered in weapon systems. Jake counted 12 vessels, each one twice the size of the Harmony Dawn. They moved in perfect formation, like hunters surrounding their prey. "Incoming transmission," Lisa announced. "Put it on screen." The alien that appeared was tall and thin, with gray skin and yellow eyes. It wore a military uniform covered in strange symbols. When it spoke, its voice was cold and harsh. "Human vessel, you will stop your engines and prepare to be boarded. I am Commander Vextar of the Zephyrian Collective. You are now our prisoners." Jake stepped forward, trying to stay calm. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the civilian transport Harmony Dawn. We are peaceful travelers with no military value. We request safe passage through this space." Commander Vextar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Peaceful? How pathetic. Humans are weak creatures who hide behind words. You carry resources we need. Your lives mean nothing to us." "Please," Jake said, thinking of the families behind him. "We have children on board, innocent people who have done nothing wrong. Let them go, and I'll cooperate with whatever you want." The alien commander's expression became even more cruel. "Children? Good. Fear makes the prey more interesting." He turned to someone off screen. "Prepare the plasma cannons. We will take what we want from the wreckage." Jake's heart stopped. "Wait, we surrender. Please, don't hurt the innocent people on this ship." But Commander Vextar had already ended the transmission. The alien ships began to move into attack position. "Lisa, get that message to Earth now," Jake shouted. "I'm trying, Captain. They're jamming our communications." Jake ran to the ship's intercom system. He had to warn the passengers. "All passengers, this is Captain Morrison. We are under attack by hostile alien forces. Move to the emergency shelters immediately. This is not a drill." The sounds of panic filled the ship. Parents grabbed their children and ran for the safety areas. But Jake knew the truth. The Harmony Dawn had only basic shields meant to protect against space debris. They were not built to stop military weapons. The first blast hit the ship's port. Side. The entire vessel shook as the plasma beam tore through the hull. Emergency lights flashed as the ship's systems began to fail. "Hull breach on decks 4 and 5, Tony called out. "Emergency force fields are holding, but not for long." Jake held onto his chair as another blast hit them. He could hear screaming from the passenger areas. Families were being torn apart by forces beyond their control. "Captain," Lisa cried, "I got a message through to Earth just before they hit our communications array." "What did you tell them?" "Everything. Our position, the alien ships, what they said about humans being weak." Her voice broke. "I told them we're all civilians. Innocent people." The ship shook again as more weapons fire struck them. Jake looked at the damage reports flooding his screen. The Harmony Dawn was dying, and there was nothing he could do to save it. Through the chaos, he heard something that made his blood run cold. Over the emergency channels, he could hear the alien voices laughing. They were enjoying this. The murder of innocent people was entertainment to them. "Captain," Tony said quietly, "the ship is breaking apart. We have maybe 10 minutes before total hull failure." Jake closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them with new determination. "Launch all escape pods. Get everyone off this ship who can be saved. But Captain, the aliens will just hunt down the pods." "I know," Jake said grimly, "but we have to try. These people deserve a chance." The escape pods launched into space, carrying mothers and fathers, children and grandparents. Jake watched them go, knowing what would happen next. The alien ships moved to intercept them, their weapons charging. Commander Vextar's voice came over the emergency channels. "Look at them run. Weak humans scattering like frightened animals. This is why your species will never matter in this galaxy." Jake grabbed the microphone, his voice filled with anger and pain. "You think we're weak? You think murdering innocent people makes you strong? You have no idea what you've just done." "What I've done," the alien commander replied, "is show the galaxy that humans are nothing but prey." The alien ships began firing on the escape pods. Jake watched in horror as families were destroyed, their only crime being human. The screams filled the emergency channels until, one by one, they went silent. Jake felt something he had never felt before, a cold rage that seemed to freeze his soul. These creatures had chosen to murder children. They had chosen to destroy innocent lives for their own amusement. "Lisa," he said quietly, "is that message still transmitting to Earth?" "Yes, Captain. They're receiving everything." "Good. Let them hear this. Let them know what happened to us." Jake looked directly at the screen where Commander Vextar's face appeared again. "You wanted to see what humans are like when you are innocent people. You're about to find out." The alien commander laughed again. "Threats from a dying human? How amusing." Jake smiled, but it was not a happy expression. "Not threats, a promise. Earth will remember what you did here, and they will make you pay for every single life you took." The final blast destroyed the Harmony Dawn's bridge. But Jake's message had already reached Earth, carrying with it the sounds of children crying, parents screaming, and aliens laughing at human suffering. The galaxy was about to learn that there are some lines that should never be crossed, and Commander Vextar had just crossed all of them. The message from the Harmony Dawn reached Earth at 3:47 a.m. Geneva time. Admiral Ryan Pierce was pulled from his sleep by an urgent call from the Deep Space Communications Center. He dressed quickly and rushed to the Global Defense Command headquarters, his mind racing with possibilities. When he arrived, the communications officer handed him a datapad with trembling hands. "Sir, you need to see this. It's from the Harmony Dawn." Ryan read the brief summary and felt his stomach drop. A civilian transport destroyed by alien forces. All 847 passengers dead. Men, women, and children murdered for no reason other than being human. "Play the full recording," he ordered. The command center fell silent as Captain Morrison's voice filled the room. They heard the alien commander's cold threats, the sound of weapons fire, and the screams of innocent people dying. By the end, several officers were crying openly. "Get me President Walsh on the line immediately," Ryan said, his voice steady despite the rage building inside him. "And contact all world leaders. Emergency session in 2 hours. President Karen." Walsh arrived at the United Nations building in New York as the sun was rising. She had listened to the recording during her flight, and her face was grim. The leaders of every major nation were already gathered, their expressions showing the same mixture of shock and anger. "Ladies and gentlemen," President Walsh began, "we have received confirmation of the first act of alien aggression against human civilians. The transport vessel Harmony Dawn was destroyed by forces of the Zephyrian Collective 3 hours ago. All souls aboard were killed." The room erupted in angry voices. Prime Minister Robert Clark of Britain stood up. "This is an act of war against all humanity. Those were innocent people." "We cannot let this stand," added Chancellor Maria Santos of the European Federation. "If we show weakness now, how many more ships will they destroy?" Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's chief expert on alien species, stepped forward. "I've been studying the Zephyrian Collective for 2 years. They are a military empire that has conquered dozens of worlds. They use fear and brutality to control their territory." She activated a holographic display showing the alien commander. "This is Vextar, one of their senior military leaders. Intelligence. Reports say he has destroyed civilian populations on at least 7 worlds. He enjoys causing suffering." Admiral Pierce added, "The Zephyrians have been testing our defenses for months with small attacks on our border stations. They wanted to see how we would react. This attack on the Harmony Dawn was their way of telling us they consider humans to be weak prey." President Walsh looked around the room at the faces of world leaders. They made a terrible mistake. They think because we try to solve problems with words instead of weapons, we are weak. They think because we care about innocent life, we will not fight back. "What do you propose?" asked President Chun of the Asian Coalition. "War," Walsh replied simply. "Total war against the Zephyrian Collective. Not for territory or resources, but for justice. They murdered our children. They laughed while they did it. That cannot go unpunished." The vote was unanimous. Every nation on Earth declared war on the Zephyrian Collective. It was the first time in human history that the entire planet had united against a common enemy. Admiral Pierce stood before the assembled leaders. The Global Defense Force was created to protect Earth from asteroid impacts and space debris. "We have some military ships, but we were never designed to fight a war like this. Then we will build what we need," President Walsh said firmly. "Every shipyard, every factory, every resource on Earth will be turned toward one purpose. We will show the Zephyrians what happens when you hurt innocent humans." Within hours, the machinery of war began to move. The Titan shipyards in Earth orbit, which had been building exploration vessels and cargo ships, immediately switched to military production. The Luna Mining Corporation redirected all metal production to weapons manufacturing. Captain Betty Johnson, head of the Defense Force's Special Operations Division, called together her best officers. "We're going to war against aliens who think humans are weak. Our job is to prove them wrong." Commander Gary Foster, her second in command, studied the intelligence reports. "They have bigger ships and more advanced weapons, but they've been fighting weaker civilizations for decades. They're not used to enemies who fight back effectively. That's going to be their downfall, Betty replied. They underestimate us because we value life. They think mercy is weakness. They're about to learn the difference between weakness and restraint. The news of the Harmony Dawn spread across Earth like wildfire. In every city, people gathered to watch the recordings of the attack. They saw the alien commander laughing as he murdered families. They heard him call humans weak prey animals. The response was immediate and fierce. Millions of people volunteered for military service. Factories that had been closed for years reopened to produce weapons and ships. Scientists worked around the clock to develop new technologies. Dr. Patricia Stone, Earth's leading military strategist, was brought in to plan humanity's response. She had studied warfare for 30 years, but had never expected to plan an actual war. We need to understand our enemy, she told the War Council. The Zephyrians have conquered many worlds, but they always fight the same way. They attack civilian targets first to break the enemy's will to fight. It worked on other species, Admiral Pierce noted, but it won't work on humans. Attacking our civilians just made us angrier. Exactly, Dr. Stone continued. They expect us to surrender or beg for mercy. Instead, we're going to show them something they've never seen before: controlled fury, precise violence. We'll hit them so hard and so accurately that they'll never forget what it means to hurt innocent humans. The plan that emerged was unlike anything in military history. Instead of trying to match the Zephyrians ship for ship, humanity would use its greatest strength, the ability to work together and think creatively. We'll call it Operation Divine Precision, Dr. Stone announced. We're going to strike every major Zephyrian military installation simultaneously. But we're not going to become monsters like them. We'll avoid civilian targets. We'll show the galaxy that humans can be ruthless in war while still maintaining our humanity. Commander Susan Wright, head of the new Strategic Strike Force, studied the target list: 47 military installations across 12 star systems. All hit at the same time. It's ambitious. It's necessary, Admiral Pierce replied. The Zephyrians need to understand that the massacre of the Harmony Dawn was the worst mistake they ever made. News reporter Kate Miller stood outside the United Nations building, addressing the world. In the 24 hours since the attack on the Harmony Dawn, Earth has transformed. The planet that gave up war centuries ago has become a military powerhouse driven by righteous anger. She paused, looking directly into the camera. The Zephyrians wanted to see what humans do when our innocent are threatened. They thought we would cower and beg. Instead, they have awakened something that has been sleeping in the human heart: the desire for justice. In orbit around Earth, the first new warships were already taking shape. The builders worked with a fury that matched the planet's mood. These ships would carry humanity's response to the stars. Admiral Pierce stood on the command deck of the new flagship, watching Earth turn below them. The planet looked peaceful from space, but he knew that beneath that calm surface, billions of people were preparing for war. "Sir," his aide approached carefully, "the President is asking for a timeline." Ryan looked at the construction reports on his tablet. "Tell her 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we'll be ready to show the Zephyrians what divine precision looks like." As he spoke, another message came in from deep space. It was from a Zephyrian commander, demanding that Earth surrender immediately or face the same fate as the Harmony Dawn. Admiral Pierce smiled grimly and deleted the message without responding. The Zephyrians would get their answer soon enough. But it wouldn't be words. It would be written in fire and steel across the stars. The sleeping giant had awakened, and its name was humanity. 2 weeks after the Harmony Dawn massacre, Commander Alex Turner received the most dangerous mission of his career. He stood in the briefing room aboard the Silent Hunter, humanity's most advanced stealth ship, looking at star charts that showed Zephyrian territory. Your job is simple, Admiral Pierce explained over the secure communication link. Get in, gather intelligence on their military structure, and get out. We need to know exactly where to hit them. Alex nodded to his small team. Maya Chun, his tactical expert, was studying weapon patterns on her tablet. Danny Kim, their weapons specialist, was checking his equipment one final time. These three people would determine how humanity would strike back. The Zephyrians don't. No, we have stealth technology, Alex said to his team. They think all human ships are as easy to detect as the Harmony Dawn. That's going to be their first mistake. The Silent Hunter slipped into Zephyrian space like a ghost. It's advanced. Cloaking systems made it invisible to alien sensors. For the first time since the attack, humans were the hunters instead of the prey. Maya monitored Zephyrian communications from her station. Alex, you need to hear this. They're not just talking about attacking more human ships. They're planning to invade Earth colonies. Alex listened to the translated conversations with growing horror. The Zephyrians were planning to attack farming worlds, medical stations, and research colonies. All civilian targets, all innocent people. They're doing this for fun, Danny said quietly. They don't need these colonies. They just enjoy destroying peaceful civilizations. Keep recording everything, Alex ordered. Earth needs to know what kind of enemy we're dealing with. As they moved deeper into Zephyrian space, they discovered something even worse. The aliens had built their empire on the suffering of dozens of species. Entire civilizations had been enslaved or wiped out. The attack on Harmony Dawn was not unusual for them. It was just another day at work. On the planet Kepler 442, they watched Zephyrian forces destroy a city full of peaceful aliens who had tried to surrender. The aliens laughed as they burned homes with families still inside. How many species have they done this to? Maya asked, her voice shaking with anger. According to their own records, at least 37 civilizations have been completely destroyed, Alex replied. They keep trophies from each one. Danny was studying the tactical data. Their military is spread thin across too many systems. They've gotten lazy from fighting weak enemies. Most of their ships are old, and their crews are overconfident. That's what we need to know, Alex said. Keep scanning their defenses. Find their weak points. Back on Earth, Dr. Patricia Stone was working with the best military minds from every nation. The intelligence from the Silent Hunter was arriving in real time, and the picture it painted was clear. The Zephyrians have 47 major military installations, she explained to the War Council. But they're not prepared for a coordinated attack. They've never faced an enemy that could strike multiple targets at once. Admiral Pierce studied the holographic display showing Zephyrian territory. How do we hit them all simultaneously? Our ships are fast, but they can't be in 47 places at once. We don't need to be, Dr. Stone smiled. We use their own arrogance against them. They think humans are weak and disorganized. They'll never expect us to coordinate attacks across 12 star systems. The plan that emerged was brilliant in its simplicity. Human fleets would jump into Zephyrian space at precisely the same moment, hit their targets with overwhelming force, and jump out before reinforcements could arrive. We'll call it Operation Divine Precision, Dr. Stone announced. Every target will be a military installation. We won't attack civilians, even though they showed no mercy to ours. We'll prove that humans can be ruthless without becoming monsters. Commander Alex Turner and his team had been in Zephyrian space for 10 days when they made their most important discovery. They found the flagship that had destroyed the Harmony Dawn. It was orbiting a military station in the Vega system, and Commander Vextar was still aboard. The alien who had laughed while murdering human families was planning his next attack on civilian targets. There, Alex pointed to the massive ship on their screen. That's the one. The ship that killed 847 innocent people. Maya was recording everything about the flagship's defenses. It's heavily armed, but it's not built to fight other military ships. It's designed to attack defenseless targets. Perfect, Danny said grimly. It's going to get a very different kind of fight than it's used to. Alex opened a communication channel to Earth. Admiral Pierce, we found Vextar's ship, requesting permission to paint it as a priority target. Permission granted, came the immediate reply. Make sure that ship gets special attention during our attack. As they prepared to leave Zephyrian space, Alex's team intercepted one final communication. Commander Vextar was bragging to other alien commanders about how easy it had been to destroy the Harmony Dawn. The humans begged for mercy, the alien commander was saying. They offered to surrender if we would spare their children. So weak, so pathetic. I enjoyed watching them die. Danny slammed his fist on the console. I want to kill him myself. You'll get your chance, Alex replied. But first, let's make sure Earth knows exactly what kind of creature we're dealing with. The intelligence package from the Silent Hunter reached Earth, just as the final preparations for Operation Divine Precision were complete. The War Council gathered to review the evidence. President Walsh listened to the recordings of Zephyrian. Commanders discussing their plans to attack more civilian targets. She watched video of alien forces destroying peaceful cities for sport. By the end, her face was stone cold. They're not just our enemies, she said quietly. They're enemies of all civilized life in the galaxy. Every species they've conquered, every world they've destroyed, every innocent life they've taken for their amusement. Admiral Pierce nodded. The intelligence shows that other species will support us if we can prove humans are strong enough to fight back. They're all terrified of the Zephyrians, but they're watching to see what we do. Then we'll show them, President Walsh replied. We'll show them that humans don't just fight for revenge. We fight for justice. We fight to protect the innocent, even if they're not human. The final piece of Operation Divine Precision was the most important: timing. Every ship, every weapon, every attack had to happen at exactly the same moment. The Zephyrians had to feel the full weight of human anger all at once. Captain Steve Collins, who would lead the assault on the Kepler 442 command station, studied his mission briefing. 47 targets, 47 attack groups. The largest military operation in human history. Commander Linda Ross, assigned to the Vega System Weapons Depot, was checking her ship's systems. We get one chance at this. If we mess up the timing, they'll have time to coordinate their defenses. We won't mess up, Admiral Pierce said over the communication system. Every ship, every crew, every weapon is ready. In 18 hours, the Zephyrians will learn what happens when you hurt innocent humans. Dr. Stone made the final calculations. All ships will jump into Zephyrian space at 0800 hours Greenwich time. The attacks will last exactly 30 minutes. By 0830, we'll be gone, and their military will be crippled. As the countdown began, Alex Turner and his team returned to Earth space. Their mission was complete, but the real work was just beginning. Did we get everything we need? Admiral Pierce asked. Everything and more, Alex replied. We know their weak points, their ship positions, and their command structure. But more importantly, we know what kind of enemy we're fighting. And what kind is that? Alex looked at the star charts showing Zephyrian territory. The kind that has never faced an enemy that fights back with both fury and precision. They've gotten used to easy victories against helpless targets. They're about to learn that humans are neither helpless nor easy. The final hours before the attack passed quickly. Across Earth and its colonies, millions of people watched the news, knowing that humanity's response to the Harmony Dawn massacre was about to begin. In the command center, Admiral Pierce looked at the countdown timer. 18 minutes until Operation Divine Precision began. 18 minutes until the galaxy saw what happened when humans brought divine justice to the stars. "All ships report ready," came the voice from the communications center. "And let's show them what precision looks like," Admiral Pierce replied. The age of human warfare was about to begin. At exactly 0800 hours Greenwich time, 47 human fleets appeared in Zephyrian space, like ghosts materializing from the void. The largest military operation in human history had begun. Captain Steve Collins felt his stomach drop as his ship, the Vengeance, jumped into the Kepler 442 system. Through the bridge windows, he could see the massive Zephyrian command station that controlled 3 entire star systems. It was time to cut off the alien military's head. "All weapons ready, Captain," reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Amy Carter. "Enemy station is not showing any signs of alert status." Steve smiled grimly. "They're not expecting us. They think humans are too weak and disorganized to launch coordinated attacks. Let's prove them wrong." Across the galaxy, the same scene played out at 46 other locations. Commander Linda Ross led her strike force against the Vega System Weapons Depot. Captain Frank Martinez attacked the alien shipyards at Wolf 359. Captain Jennifer Lopez destroyed the command center at Proxima Centauri. Each attack was perfectly timed, perfectly coordinated, and utterly devastating. The Zephyrian forces had no idea what was happening. For decades, they had fought primitive civilizations that could barely manage one ship at a time. The concept of a multi-system coordinated attack was beyond their understanding. "Captain Collins to all ships," Steve announced over the tactical channel. "Remember, we're not here to become monsters. Military targets only, no civilian casualties. We're here to show the galaxy the difference between justice and revenge." The battle at Kepler 442 lasted 23 minutes. The Zephyrian command station, designed to intimidate helpless civilizations, crumbled under precise human fire. Every weapon bank, every command center, every military installation was destroyed with surgical accuracy, but the civilian areas of the station were left untouched. Human forces even transmitted warning messages to alien families, giving them time to reach safety shelters. Commander Linda Ross watched the weapons depot at Vega explode in a brilliant flash of light. "Target destroyed. No civilian casualties," reported, moving to secondary objectives. The same message came from attack fleets across Zephyrian space. Military installations burned while civilian populations were protected. The aliens had never seen anything like it. At the center of Operation Divine Precision was the most important target, Commander Vextar's flagship. The ship that had destroyed the Harmony Dawn was orbiting a military station in the Tau Ceti system, and Captain Rick Thompson was personally leading the attack. "There she is," Rick said, looking at the alien flagship through his bridge windows. "The ship that murdered 847 innocent people." His own ship, the Retribution, was one of Earth's newest heavy cruisers. It had been built specifically for this mission, with weapons designed to punch through the thickest alien armor. "Captain Thompson to Zephyrian flagship," Rick transmitted on all frequencies. "I am Captain Rick Thompson of the Earth Defense Force. You destroyed an unarmed civilian transport called the Harmony Dawn. You murdered 847 innocent people, including children. Today, you answer for those crimes." Commander Vextar's face appeared on the communication screen. The alien commander looked shocked and angry. "Impossible. Humans are weak prey animals. You cannot challenge the mighty Zephyrian collective." "Watch." "U.S.," Rick replied simply. The battle between the Retribution and Vextar's flagship was broadcast across both human and Zephyrian space. Every alien civilization in the galaxy watched as the two ships circled each other like ancient warriors. Vextar. Ship was larger and more heavily armed, but it had been designed to fight defenseless targets. The Retribution was built for war against equally powerful enemies. Their shields are down to 60%, reported Lieutenant Kevin Park from the weapons station. Our targeting systems are holding steady. Keep firing, Rick ordered. But watch for escape pods. When that ship starts to break apart, we save everyone we can. The alien commander's voice crackled over the communication system. You cannot defeat us. We are the masters of this galaxy. We have conquered dozens of worlds. You conquered helpless civilizations, Rick replied, as another volley of human weapons struck the alien ship. You've never fought anyone who could fight back. That's about to change. The flagship's hull began to crack under the precise human. Fire. Emergency lights flashed on the alien bridge as systems failed one by one. Hull breach on multiple decks, came a panicked voice from the Zephyrian ship. Commander, we need to abandon ship. Vextar's face twisted with rage. Never. I will. Not be defeated by weak humans. But his crew was already launching escape pods. The alien commander watched in amazement as human ships moved to rescue the pods instead of destroying them. Captain Thompson, came a transmission from one of the escape pods. This is Engineer Zefkar of the Zephyrian vessel. Why are you saving? You? We would have killed you without mercy. Rick's voice was steady and strong. Because we're not you. We don't murder helpless people. That's the difference between humans and monsters. The alien flagship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Commander Vextar, who had refused to abandon his ship, died in the explosion. But his crew lived, saved by the same humans they had tried to destroy. Across Zephyrian space, the story was the same. Human forces struck with overwhelming power, but when alien ships began to explode, human crews immediately moved to rescue survivors. The contrast was not lost on the watching galaxy. Every civilization that had lived in fear of the Zephyrians saw the difference between human justice and alien cruelty. Operation Divine Precision is complete, Admiral Pierce announced from Earth. All targets destroyed. Mission accomplished with minimal civilian casualties. The results were staggering. In 30 minutes, humanity had destroyed 80%. Of the Zephyrian military, command centers were gone. Weapons depots were destroyed. The alien war machine had been crippled with surgical precision. But the most important result was not military. It was the message that humanity had sent to the Galaxy Captain Mary Johnson, who had led the attack on the alien training facility at Barnard Star, transmitted a message that was heard across known space. To all civilizations watching this. Broadcast. The Zephyrian Collective has terrorized the galaxy for too long. They have destroyed peaceful worlds and murdered innocent people for sport. Today, humanity says enough. She paused, looking directly into the camera. We did not come here for conquest or revenge. We came here for justice. We have shown that the Zephyrians can be defeated. We have shown that their victims can be protected. And we have shown that there is a difference between necessary force and cruel violence. The alien races that had been enslaved by the Zephyrians were the first to respond. On world after world, oppressed populations rose up against their Zephyrian masters. The slaves had seen human forces defeat their oppressors, and they found the courage to fight for their freedom. Sir, reported Commander Alex Turner from the Silent Hunter, we are receiving surrender requests from 17 Zephyrian outposts. They're offering to lay down their weapons if we guarantee the safety of their civilian populations. Admiral. Pierce nodded. Accept their surrenders. Begin humanitarian operations immediately. Show them that humans keep their word. Within hours, human ships were delivering food and medical supplies to former Zephyrian territories. The same fleets that had brought destruction to military targets now brought hope to civilian populations, Dr. Elena Vasquez, monitoring alien communications, reported incredible news. Admiral, we're receiving messages from dozens of alien civilizations. They're offering to join a coalition against the remaining Zephyrian forces. What kind of coalition? President Walsh asked. A galactic alliance dedicated to protecting civilian populations from military aggression. They want humanity to lead it. President Walsh looked at the star charts showing the galaxy. Just 3 weeks ago, humans had been unknown to most alien civilizations. Now they were being asked to lead a galactic peacekeeping force. The Zephyrians made a terrible mistake, she said quietly. They thought attacking our civilians would make us weak. Instead, it made us strong. It united us. And it showed the galaxy that humans will fight to protect the innocent, even if they're not human. As the first day of humanity's war came to an end, the results were clear. The Zephyrian collective was broken. Their military was destroyed. Their empire was crumbling as enslaved worlds declared independence. But more importantly, the galaxy had seen something new. A species that could wage war with devastating precision while still maintaining its humanity. A species that would fight to protect the innocent, even among their enemies. The age of Zephyrian terror was over. The age of human protection had begun. Captain Rick Thompson stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the stars of the Tau Ceti system. In the distance, he could see the wreckage of Vextar's flagship drifting in space, like a monument to failed cruelty. Captain, Lieutenant Kevin Park, approached him carefully. "We finished processing the survivors from the escape pods. They're asking to speak with you." Rick nodded. "Bring their senior officer to the bridge." A few minutes later, Engineer Zeph Carr was escorted onto the human bridge. The alien looked around with obvious confusion and fear. He had expected to be tortured or killed, as his own people would have done to prisoners. "You saved us," Zeph Carr said quietly. 6 months after Operation Divine Precision, the galaxy had become a very different place. The Zephyrian collective no longer existed as a military power. Their remaining forces had either surrendered or been defeated by the growing coalition. Of free worlds that humanity now led. President Karen Walsh stood before the newly constructed Galactic Justice Tribunal on the neutral world of Kepler 186F. Representatives from 43 different species had gathered to witness something that had never happened before. War criminals being held accountable for their crimes against innocent civilizations. Today, President Walsh announced to the assembled delegates, "We hold the first trial for crimes against galactic peace. The defendants are accused of systematic murder of civilian populations across 17 star systems." In the defendant's cage sat the surviving Zephyrian commanders, including Engineer Zeph Carr, who had been promoted after Vextar's death. But unlike the other defendants, Zeph Carr had cooperated with human forces and helped rescue survivors from destroyed worlds. The chief prosecutor was Colonel Beth Martinez, who had led the humanitarian mission to liberate Zephyria Prime. She had seen firsthand what the alien empire had done to its own people and the civilizations it conquered. "The evidence will show," Colonel Martinez began, "that the Zephyrian military systematically targeted civilian populations for destruction. They murdered families for entertainment. They enslaved entire species for sport. They turned genocide into a game." The courtroom fell silent as the evidence was presented. Video recordings from destroyed worlds showed Zephyrian forces hunting down fleeing civilians. Audio transcripts revealed commanders laughing as they ordered the destruction of hospitals and schools. When the recording of the Harmony Dawn attack was played, many of the alien delegates wept openly. They heard Captain Morrison begging for the lives of children. They heard Commander Vextar's cruel laughter as he ordered the destruction of escape pods. "This is what we fought to stop," Colonel Martinez said quietly. "Not conquest, not territory, but the systematic murder of innocent people for no reason other than the enjoyment of causing suffering." The defense lawyers, provided by human legal experts to ensure a fair trial, tried to argue that the Zephyrians were simply following their military culture. But the evidence was overwhelming. "Culture does not excuse cruelty," Judge Patricia Williams ruled. "Military orders do not justify the murder of children. There are some lines that no civilized being should cross, regardless of their species or their traditions." The most dramatic moment came when engineer Ziftyar took the stand. The alien who had once served aboard Vextar's flagship now testified against his former commanders. "I participated in 17 attacks on civilian targets," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I helped destroy hospitals, schools, and refugee ships. I thought it was normal. I thought all species in the galaxy were like us." He looked directly at the human delegation. "But when the humans defeated us, they didn't kill our survivors. They didn't torture our prisoners. They gave us food, medical care, and protection. They showed me that there was another way to live." The prosecutor asked, "What did you learn from humanity's response to your attacks?" Zefkar was quiet for a long moment. "I learned that strength is not measured by how much suffering you can cause. True strength is having the power to destroy your enemies, but choosing to show mercy instead. The humans had every right to exterminate us after what we did to their civilian ship, but they chose to be better than we were. When the verdicts were announced, most of the Zephyrian commanders were sentenced to life imprisonment with hard labor, helping to rebuild the worlds they had destroyed. But Zefkar and several others who had cooperated in exposing war crimes were given lighter sentences and the opportunity to help establish the new galactic peace. "Justice has been served," President Walsh announced. "But more importantly, we have established a principle that will guide this galaxy going forward. The deliberate targeting of civilian populations is a crime against all civilized life. It will be punished swiftly and severely." The establishment of the Galactic Protection Accord followed quickly. 43 species signed the treaty, agreeing to protect civilian populations and provide mutual defense against aggressive military powers. Humanity, as the species that had liberated the galaxy from Zephyrian terror, was chosen to lead the new peacekeeping force. Admiral Pierce was promoted to Supreme Commander of Galactic Defense, with the authority to coordinate military responses to threats against civilian populations. "We didn't seek this responsibility," Admiral Pierce told the Assembly. "We would have preferred to continue our peaceful exploration of the stars. But when innocent people are threatened, humanity will respond. Not for conquest, not for glory, but for justice." The transformation of former Zephyrian territory was remarkable. Worlds that had been enslaved for decades were now free and prosperous. The species that had lived in fear were now building new civilizations based on cooperation instead of domination. Dr. Elena Vasquez led the cultural exchange program that helped former Zephyrian slaves adapt to freedom. Many of these civilizations had forgotten what it was like to live without fear, she reported. They're learning that diversity makes them stronger, not weaker. On the former Zephyrian homeworld, now called New Hope, the transformation was most dramatic. The planet that had once been the center of a military empire was now a peaceful agricultural world where former enemies worked together to grow food for the galaxy. Captain Tony Rodriguez, formerly the chief engineer of the Harmony. Dawn had survived the attack in an escape pod that the Zephyrians had missed. He now served as the administrator of the Harmony Dawn Memorial Station, built at the exact location where the civilian transport had been destroyed. "This memorial serves two purposes," Tony explained to visiting dignitaries. "First, it honors the 847 innocent people who died here. But second, it reminds the galaxy what happens when civilization forgets to protect its most vulnerable members. The memorial included the names of every person who had died aboard the Harmony Dawn, from Captain Morrison to the youngest child. But it also included a message of hope that their deaths had not been in vain. Lisa Baker, the former navigator who had managed to send the final distress call, now served as the director of the Galactic Early Warning System. Her job was to make sure that no civilian ship would ever again face destruction without the galaxy knowing about it. We monitor every communication channel, every distress signal, every cry for help, she explained. When innocent people are threatened anywhere in the galaxy, we will know about it in minutes, not hours. The system had already prevented dozens of potential massacres. Pirates and raiders who once preyed on defenseless civilian ships now faced immediate response from human peacekeeping forces. But perhaps the most remarkable change was in the Zephyrian people themselves. The younger generation, freed from the military culture that had defined their species for centuries, began to embrace the values of cooperation and peaceful coexistence. Zeph Carr, now serving as the Zephyrian representative to the Galactic Council, worked tirelessly to educate his people about the cost of their former way of life. We measured our strength by how much fear we could create, he told a gathering of young Zephyrians. The humans showed us that true strength comes from how much hope you can inspire. We must never forget the terrible things we did, but we can choose to be better. 5 years after the Harmony Dawn massacre, Captain Jake Morrison's daughter graduated from the Earth Defense Academy. Sarah Morrison had been just 10 years old when her father died protecting innocent civilians. Now she was 25 and ready to carry on his legacy. I don't remember much about my father, she said at her graduation ceremony, but I remember that he died trying to protect families who couldn't protect themselves. That's what I want to do with my life. She was assigned to command the newest ship in the Earth Defense Fleet, the Harmony Reborn. The vessel was designed not for war, but for protection. Its mission was to escort civilian transports and ensure that no family would ever again face the terror that had claimed her father. President Walsh, now in her second term, addressed the crew of the Harmony Reborn at its commissioning ceremony. This ship represents everything humanity stands for, not the power to destroy, but the commitment to protect. Not the desire for conquest, but the dedication to justice. As the ceremony concluded, Admiral Pierce looked up at the stars and thought about how much had changed. Humanity had gone from being unknown in the galaxy to being its protectors. The species that had wanted only to explore the stars peacefully had become the guardians of galactic civilization. Sir, his aide approached, we are receiving reports of a new aggressive species in the Andromeda sector. They've attacked 3 civilian research stations. Admiral Pierce smiled grimly. Dispatch the nearest peacekeeping fleet. Make sure they understand our rules. Civilian targets are off limits. If they want to fight, they'll fight us, not helpless people. And if they refuse to listen? Admiral Pierce looked at the memorial hologram of the Harmony Dawn that floated in his office. Then they'll learn what the Zephyrians learned, that humanity fights with divine precision. We protect the innocent, punish the guilty, and show mercy to those